of course, in storyline, they're going to decide that, hey, Punk's no longer with us. We're going to crown a new champion. And of course, they decide to have an undisputed championship match when John Cena is going to defend his world title against CM Punk and his world title at SummerSlam. Punk wins the match, but then immediately loses it to Alberto Del Rio because Alberto is going to cash in. And a returning Kevin Nash is here to attack CM Punk on behalf of Triple H. And after SummerSlam, that becomes, the new direction. Punk is accusing Nash of conspiring with Triple H to keep Punk away from the title. And during their verbal back and forths, and there were some memorable moments on TV, we would hear Kevin Nash demean the look. And I think at one point Nash referred to, said that CM Punk looked like someone who worked the third shift at the Waffle House.
Well, it's echoing the sentiments of Nash's buddies, HBK and Triple H. They're following the reality. They're trying to follow the storyline. The reality of the situation is now being turned into a storyline. I applaud them for that, quite frankly. But I think I also acknowledge when Kevin did that, okay, we know this guy's a player now. We didn't like him. We may never like him, but he got over. And as a responsible entrepreneur, independent contractor guy, I need to work with this cat because it's going to increase my pay. We're going to draw more money. I'll make more money on the payoffs, blah, blah, blah. So to me, it was a sign of acceptance to a large degree when Nash got involved as the beard, so to speak, of Triple H and Shawn Michaels to a lesser degree.
So I mentioned the Money in the Bank match with Cena, which is probably going to end up being maybe your most celebrated match ever. He's started to move on from WWE. He's moving to the Hollywood platform as well. He's got a Nickelodeon movie coming out in November.
Did he ask for time off?
No, I think he just took it. I think he just exited stage left and said, "You can't see me." Thoughts on, I didn't mean that to be a knock on WWE, I promise. Thoughts on working with Cena. What was it like with him? He was the top guy there, the closest equivalent to a Hulk Hogan in the 80s for that company. What was it like working with him creatively? What was it like that night in Chicago? And thoughts on Cena moving on from WWE when he's been such a big part of their identity the last 15 years?
And you're going to get another Michael Hayes impression. I hope you all enjoy the Michael Hayes impression. I wish John was here just so he could answer that question. But I always liked working with John because, again, it was easy. And I think John was in a position where he was almost kind of glad somebody else came in and forcibly took the reins. I remember the first time I worked John in 2009. And, in wrestling, the bad guy normally calls the match. It's just kind of traditionally how it went. And I remember locking up with John, and he was doing an appearance, so we couldn't talk about the match, and I hated talking about matches anyway. It's like John Cena, you know what he does? He does the 5 things, and that's it. So if you can't figure that out, you're in trouble. And I remember Mike Chiodo was the referee, and I remember locking up with John, and grabbing a headlock and taking him over, and I'm happy just to sit there a minute and kind of get the lay of the land. And he started going, tackle, drop down, hip toss, and he starts calling all this shit, and I was just like. And I remember just looking over at Kyoto and I go, Mike, who the fuck's calling this match? And he's laughing so hard he was trying to hide his face, and John just went, oh, okay. And I think John was stoked that he didn't have to be that guy directing traffic. And he let me do whatever the fuck I wanted. So I think he was relieved. But I also think that's how we worked together really well, because you talk about, I never like to take credit for shit. Because at the end, it doesn't matter. But I was the first guy to be like, why does everybody always take those shoulder? What the fuck's going to happen? Why do you let him do this to you without fucking kicking him in the head? So it was really I broke down the John Cena comeback in a logical way, and he was just kind of this is great. How come nobody's ever done this before? And just working with him was always great. Like I said, because he wasn't worried about his spot and I think everybody else up until that point was worried about their spot. I don't think when I wrestled JBL, I don't think he gave a shit about his spot. So that made it a little bit better. But there's always guys who were worried about their spot, and then you know that they don't like you, and politically they're against you. So wrestling them was always pulling teeth. It wasn't like that with John at all.
Would you say the Chicago match was your happiest moment in the company? Did you feel the most fulfilled that night?
No, I mean, happiest moment in the company, that's like really, I mean, that's hard to say. I mean, I legitimately did not sign a contract until that day. Like, we didn't have it, like, Vince was like, what's the finish? Because if you don't sign, the finish is obviously John up. And if you sign, we have to figure out a finish. And I was like, oh, okay. And I got what I wanted, and I signed the deal in the Rosemont Horizon. But I don't know if it was my happiest moment, you know what I mean? I was always stoked when I got to help somebody else have a happy moment. That was always, I think, happier for me. I think in that moment, I think for Chicago and wrestling fans in general, is a happy moment for them. It's a great moment for me, don't get me wrong. But I think I was always more stoked when, like when Ape and Eve got to do a main event with me and Dan O'Brien, right. Like a Raw. I was always happy to, do what I could. I feel like in my career, parallels with my life, that I'm always, like, if I find myself on higher ground, I'm always doing this, try to reach up and, like, bring my friends with me. Because when I was a kid, I never had that, so I'm always empathetic to that, and I always want to bring everybody for the ride. I always want to bring everybody up and bring everybody along. I always try to get my friends jobs. I always try to, work with my friends to bring them up. If I'm up, a level, I'm always just like, come on, let's go. Here, I kick this door in, let's all go. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, go together.